Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're embarking on a journey back in time, not to revisit the familiar faces we all learned about in school, but to shine a light on the shadows of history. We're going to uncover the stories of incredible women whose contributions have been overlooked, buried, or simply forgotten over the centuries. These are the women who broke barriers, pioneered new fields, and defied the expectations of their time, yet their names rarely appear in our textbooks. From science and art to politics and activism, their impact was profound, and their legacies deserve to be celebrated. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's rediscover the forgotten women who changed the world. Let's start our journey in the world of science. When you think of the discovery of DNA's structure, the names Watson and Crick probably come to mind. But what about Rosalind Franklin? It was Franklin, a brilliant chemist and X-ray crystallographer, who captured the now famous photograph 51. This groundbreaking image was the crucial piece of evidence that revealed the double helix shape of DNA. Her work was shown to Watson and Crick, reportedly without her full knowledge or permission, providing them with the final clue they needed to build their model. While they went on to win the Nobel Prize, Franklin's pivotal contribution was largely sidelined. She passed away from cancer at just 37, never receiving the full credit she was due in her lifetime. Today, we recognize Rosalind Franklin not just as a contributor, but as a foundational figure in our understanding of life itself. Her story is a powerful reminder of the importance of acknowledging every scientist behind a great discovery. Now, let's travel from the laboratory to the battlefield of social justice. Have you ever heard of Pauli Murray? If not, you're not alone, but you should know her name. Murray was a trailblazing lawyer, activist, poet, and priest whose legal theories were decades ahead of their time. Long before the landmark case of Brown versus Board of Education, Murray was arguing against the separate but equal doctrine, laying the intellectual groundwork that future civil rights lawyers, including Thurgood Marshall, would use to dismantle segregation. But that's not all. Murray was also a pioneer in feminist legal theory. In the 1960s, she co-authored an article that argued the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment should apply to gender discrimination. This very argument was later used by Ruth Bader Ginsburg in her own fight for women's rights. Pauli Murray was a true visionary, a queer, black feminist force who saw the interconnectedness of all forms of discrimination. Her life's work built the legal foundations for both the civil rights and women's rights movements, yet her name remains largely unknown. Next, let's explore the world of computing. The names Steve Jobs or Bill Gates might come to mind when we think of computer pioneers. But the very first computer programmer was a woman named Ada Lovelace, born all the way back in 1815. The daughter of the poet Lord Byron, Ada was a mathematical genius. Working with Charles Babbage on his proposed mechanical general-purpose computer, the analytical engine, she did more than just translate notes. Lovelace recognized that the machine had applications beyond pure calculation. She theorized that it could be used to create music, graphics, and be used for scientific purposes if it were fed the right data and instructions. She published the first algorithm intended to be carried out by such a machine. In essence, she foresaw the modern, multi-purpose computer over a century before it was built. While Babbage invented the engine, Ada Lovelace wrote its first program and, more importantly, envisioned its true potential. She was the prophet of the digital age. From programming, we move to politics and diplomacy. We often hear about the founding fathers of the United States, but what about the founding mothers? One such figure is Mercy Otis Warren. During the American Revolution, Warren was a prolific writer, political poet, and satirist who used her pen as a weapon against British tyranny. She hosted political meetings in her home, which became a hub for revolutionaries like John and Samuel Adams. She corresponded with and advised many of the key leaders of the Revolution. But her most significant work came after the war. In 1805, she published one of the very first histories of the American Revolution. This wasn't just a retelling of events. It was a bold, politically charged account that championed Republican ideals and warned against the dangers of a centralized, aristocratic government. She was a historian, a political analyst, and the conscience of the revolution, ensuring its principles were not forgotten. Her voice was instrumental in shaping the new nation's identity, proving that the revolution was fought not only on the battlefield, but also in the hearts and minds of people like her. Let's turn our attention to the arts, specifically sculpture. You may know the names Michelangelo or Rodin, but have you heard of Edmonia Lewis? Born in 1844 to a father of Afro-Haitian descent and a mother of Mississauga Ojibwe heritage, Lewis shattered both racial and gender barriers to become the first internationally recognized African American and Native American sculptor. After facing intense discrimination in the United States, she moved to Rome, where she found a more welcoming artistic community. There, she created stunning neoclassical sculptures that often depicted themes related to her heritage, portraying Black and Indigenous people with dignity and grace, a radical act for her time. Her most famous work, The Death of Cleopatra, was a monumental marble statue that caused a sensation when it was exhibited at the 1876 Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia. For years, the statue was lost, only to be rediscovered in a salvage yard in the 1980s. Edmonia Lewis Iast's journey is a testament to incredible talent and resilience in the face of immense adversity. She literally carved out a place for herself in art history. Finally, let's talk about investigative journalism. Nellie Bly was a name that once struck fear into the hearts of the corrupt and powerful. In the late 1800s, journalism was a man's world, but Bly refused to be confined to writing about fashion and gardening. She became a pioneer of undercover reporting. Her most famous expose involved feigning a mental illness to get herself committed to the Women's Lunatic Asylum on Blackwell's Island. For 10 days, she experienced the horrific conditions firsthand: abuse, neglect, spoiled food, and freezing baths. Her subsequent report, published as a book titled 10 Days in a Madhouse, was a sensation. It sparked a grand jury investigation and led to sweeping reforms in mental health care. But Bly didn't stop there. She later embarked on a record-breaking trip around the world in just 72 days, inspired by Jules Verne's novel. Nellie Bly was more than just a reporter. She was an adventurer and an advocate who showed the world the power of journalism to effect real, tangible change. Rosalind Franklin, Polly Murray, Ada Lovelace, Mercy Otis Warren, Edmonia Lewis, and Nellie Bly. These are just a few of the countless women whose stories have been relegated to the footnotes of history. Their achievements were not minor, they were foundational. They shaped science, law, technology, politics, art, and journalism. By remembering them, we don't just correct the historical record, we gain a more complete, more accurate, and more inspiring understanding of our shared past. We see that genius and courage have no gender, and that progress has always been driven by a diverse chorus of voices, even if some have been silenced. Their stories remind us to look deeper, to question the narratives we've been taught, and to seek out the hidden figures who have always been there, changing the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. I hope you found these stories as inspiring as I do. Who are some other forgotten women from history that you think we should all know about? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read your suggestions and maybe even feature them in a future video. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps us continue to tell these important stories. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.